baseball.
No.
Figured she's older than 71.
Boy, there's a lot of Bill Howard.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. My name's Dirk Keller. Over here on the far right is Bob Boyd. Very special guest, Pat. What's your last name? Pat White is here again,
He's
gracing
special?
our.
Good to see you.
I think he's pretty special. Far left is Bud Supple,
My
and
name
as
is Murphy.
always, Earl the Pearl Murphy. We are back. We thought 5 was better than 4 today, and we just wanted to get a lot of feedback on the Purdue game that Iowa won 24-10. Bud was at the game, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your trip and about your experience?
Trip over there, it's really about 4.5 hours is all it takes.
Is that right?
Yeah. And tickets are very, very reasonable. $20 a piece. We got three tickets for it. And it was some of the best seats I've ever had.
Where'd you sit? What yard line?
I'd say probably the 40-yard line.
Oh, my
And
God.
I was
yeah.
right in the middle.
Yep.
Where, between the upper deck and the lower deck.
Were you on the Iowa side of the field?
Oh, yeah, I was on the
So you're
Iowa
looking
side,
into
too.
the sun.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, got sunburn. I mean, it was really hot. And I don't know if you noticed Kurt
He was
on your
burned.
show, he was really burned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know you didn't, Bob, but he was really burned.
No, I heard that, though. He
Yeah.
got sunburned pretty good, yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's so
that,
sad.
yeah, good seats.
Yeah, real good
Yeah.
seats. And the sad thing about, I've been 2 weeks in a row, and I sit in a stadium that's hardly half full. And it was homecoming at both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Both?
Have you been to Purdue before?
Yes,
Has it been, the attendance been down like that before?
the last 2 years they have been, but before that, it'd be filled all the time. You better had a ticket before you left Iowa City.
Yeah, I've been there 3 times, and it was full each
Yeah.
game, but that's been a long
Yeah,
while.
that goes back, because we didn't play them there for a long stretch.
I think it's pretty safe to say that Purdue may be, along with Illinois, one of the 2 worst programs right now in the Big Ten.
And maybe the worst city to go to a game. I've been there a couple times also, and West Lafayette leaves a lot to be desired.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
So does Lafayette.
Yes, yes. I bet East Lafayette has, same deal.
I bet they probably say the same thing about
But you know
Iowa
what they
City.
had that was really nice? Probably 2 acres of land that they parked the motorhomes. And Vandenberg's had their motorhome,
Yeah,
so that's where we tailgate. And they get it for $40 for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh, my God.
boy, that's cheap.
And it's just loaded with motorhomes. I bet there was 25 from Iowa.
They
Yeah,
got porta potties out there?
They got porta potties, a lot of them. And another thing they have, the buses come and pick you up every 15 minutes, no charge at all, and take you right to the stadium. After the ball game, they're right out there and take you right back that park.
Oh,
boy, that's a great idea.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
Ohio State does something very similar to that
Okay.
with their bus.
but I bet they don't have a lot like this.
Well, we do too for basketball,
Yeah,
transporting you from the arena to both east and west, over to Hampshire and out to that west parking lot.
Yeah, that's true.
but see, cars can come to this lot too, but they have to park in the middle of it. It's a big round area, but it's just fantastic.
did you take a tour of Mackey Arena while you were there?
No,
No?
no.
Don't care about that.
That's pretty old. Has that been renovated, Dirk?
I've been in there before.
I don't know if it has, Bob. That's a good question.
Yeah, because a lot of them have been, but that's been there forever.
Last time I went to a Purdue football game, I did go into Mackey, and it was dark and tight. It looked, really close.
Yeah,
Which, for basketball, it's a pretty tough environment. Everybody's right on top of the floor.
But the people are really upset over there. They're
About?
Really,
What are they upset with? Hazel's in his second year.
yeah, but.
Are they
as far
already
as-
out of patience?
They
with
don't
him?
think it's changed any.
They don't think what?
The new coach has changed anything from the old coach. Because, and I'm sure you know, and you guys, Purdue's always been a passing team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
And they ran the ball more than they passed.
And they didn't pass it very well when they did.
Oh, that's where we sacked them, right.
Etson, was that the quarterback's name?
Etling.
Etling.
Pretty weak.
Danny
He,
Etling.
he
Yeah.
just did not look good.
No, I know it.
Poor decision-making. There were times when their receivers were wide open, open, and he just missed the mark.
Missed the mark, but then our defense was very, very good getting on him where he couldn't.
Yeah,
That's
he had
See where
pressure.
the mark was.
That's right.
Let's see
Our
that.
defense has played pretty darn good the last
Well,
3 quarters.
in terms of pressure on the quarterback, that was our best performance.
Yep,
There you
Yeah.
go, right.
Yeah.
I
yep.
mean, Iowa State, that's why we lost.
I
We
know.
didn't come close to Sam Richardson.
Not even close. And didn't look like they were putting much pressure
No.
at all on the Iowa State offensive line.
At Pitt, we blitzed much more.
Yeah,
We didn't blitz Purdue as much, but the
Didn't have
defensive
to.
line was getting through.
That's right, we
Ryan
didn't hold them
Stotts
down.
and-
You have to remember, we didn't give up a touchdown.
yeah.
The touchdown they got
The
was.
defense did.
Defense, yeah, defensive.
I've got some defensive statistics here that you might find interesting. The Hawkeyes lead the Big Ten in total defense at 156 yards per game. They lead the Big Ten in pass defense at 72 yards per game. And they lead the Big Ten in pass defense efficiency. And I'm not sure what that
Yeah,
stat
I was
means.
gonna ask how they calculate that one.
47 yards per game in pass defense efficiency. So
Now, are those Big Ten stats, so that doesn't include the whole season? Because I think those are the 72 yards and the 156.
So that's one
what
game
Purdue
worth of
got.
stats.
Huh?
Is that just one game's worth of
Well,
stats?
No, Purdue-
I think those
Purdue got
rushing yards
total.
and passing yards is what they had.
No,
Huh?
total
No?
yards was 156.
For Purdue?
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, then
Oh,
that's,
okay.
that's Big Ten only then,
Yeah.
yep. Iowa has
But-
won 4 straight and 6 of its last 7 games on the road.
That's very impressive.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
Yeah.
The Hawkeyes have won 4 consecutive road games, dating back to last season. And it's the first time they've accomplished that since 2009. So, 5 years. And what's our next road game, Bud?
Maryland,
Oh, so we have Indiana, not this week, there's a bye week
right?
this
Yes.
weekend, so no game for the Hawkeyes. Then next week is homecoming, when Indiana comes to town.
Right.
And I hate to tell you guys this, but the game's on ESPNU.
Oh, boy,
Well, we'll be there, so,
That's true.
true.
you know, the schedule is really weird. We played 2 games total in October.
One
and-
home.
And 5 in November.
Well, better than that, Nebraska has been on 3 8 o'clock games at 7 o'clock.
Is that right?
And they're gonna be on another one this week.
Well, I'm
Did
counting
you-
this
did-
one, Bob.
Did you see that Nebraska has joined the Weird Uniform Club?
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. They were horrible. They
They were.
They looked like some indoor football uniform. Just terrible.
Well, it kind of looked like pajamas.
My God.
Well, and
All red, Bob.
and their
Oh,
hats are
no.
terrible. I mean,
Two-tone
their helmets
helmets.
are just terrible.
Helmets were dark
Right.
on the bottom. Oh, ugly. They're almost as bad as Maryland's.
Yeah. And Indiana,
Maryland
too.
is the worst. Indiana's helmets are the worst.
Now, did you watch that Indiana-Maryland game?
I watched a little bit of the highlights.
It was hard to tell which team
Who
was
was who,
which,
yeah.
because they both have red,
Yeah.
but Indiana's maroon and cream, and Maryland's red and white. But you couldn't tell which, is because neither team had a traditional helmet. And, yeah, Indiana's, I don't know what they're going for
Wait till
there.
you play Oregon.
Well,
What's the reason for this? Is this for
kids like it.
for selling
They say kids
weird
like it.
shirts and jerseys to
Yeah.
kids and stuff? Is that the deal?
I don't like
It's part of it, but they say it's because the kids like the look.
Oregon's had success in recruiting with a variety of different uniforms. I mean, they had something like 50
Yeah, they
different
changed during the
uniforms,
season. You mean, right.
combinations.
Well, that's because they're affiliated with Nike. Now, right there.
Well, in
that
Maryland's got a big supporter who's the Under Armour guy who's.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
yeah.
he's funding their uniforms.
Well,
Right there should be something illegal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not treating everybody
No, it
equal.
isn't. There ought to be a rule that,
Yeah.
but, you can donate as much as you want. Like, Michigan's got this guy that's donated $150 million to some to sports, some to business.
I bet he's had a couple bad weeks.
well, let's talk, I wanted to talk about Michigan for a second. Bud, you didn't get to see the game, but it was a disaster from the get-go. Minnesota just came in and whooped them. And this is a Minnesota team that hadn't thrown many passes all year. And,
And they'd
and,
only completed one the week before.
yeah. And they came in to Ann Arbor, to the big house, and just ate Michigan alive. And the crowd was booing in the second quarter, and it only got uglier after that.
Wow.
So then you add insult
Do
to,
they boo over there?
oh, yeah,
Well, they've started to.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like you, I didn't hear much booing
They-
the years that I went, but I suppose this year they are.
They were booing.
Last night, our students at Michigan organized and marched on the president's house demanding the athletic director be fired.
Is that right?
And they've circulated a petition, which was part of their demonstration last night. It's getting pretty ugly.
And you know, they had over 7,000 signatures on that petition
Yeah.
from students.
He's made some mistakes. You know,
We have too.
Everybody has.
but at Michigan, when you make those mistakes, they're magnified. He's made some marketing mistakes. He's made, well, basically ticket mistakes with students, with the general public. This year, after everybody had bought their their season tickets, he came out with some promotional effort that if you bought Coca-Cola products,
Two liters,
Oh, yeah.
2 liters of Coke, you
Oh,
could
yeah.
buy a ticket to the game for $2.
$2.
Which sent the traditional ticket holders into apoplexy because they've got the same sort of license fee that we have.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
they got people spending a couple $1,000s
That's
to buy
right.
tickets to the games, and
You're so
here the
right.
athletic director is trying to sell them for $2.
See, that's what they did over Purdue too.
Yeah.
And big givers are really upset, or even the average person that goes, he has to give so much.
You know, the Iowa State crowd at an Iowa game was tremendous. There must have been a lot of tickets sold.
for the Iowa State game.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess-
Their allotment was 3,000.
Yes.
And I bet there was 10,000, yeah.
Oh, I
Okay,
bet
you're
there
right.
was at least
Oh, yeah.
10,000.
Oh, yes.
Well, they all have friends and neighbors and relatives that are season ticket holders and
Well, and then I asked,
spouses sometimes.
them about that. I said, now, their allotment's 3. Now, are you gonna give them more tickets if they call the day before? Since you got 7,000 to sell?
Well, and here's the other
They didn't
thing.
wanna give me an answer.
There hasn't been a sellout yet at Kinnick. So Iowa
Oh,
State
no,
fans
no,
can
was it,
call.
Iowa State was.
Iowa State was a sellout, but, you're right, I
There
misspoke.
were still empty seats.
But they could call right up until about Labor Day and buy tickets for that game, anybody,
I know.
yep.
Well,
And-
I called there about a week and a half before the game, because I had a friend that all of a sudden wanted 2 tickets, and I went, oh boy. I called over their ticket office, and they're very cooperative if they can help you.
Right.
And she gets on her computer, this is about 8 days before the Iowa State game, and they had about 10 tickets, supposedly.
10,000?
She was searching,
10.
John was searching on the computer, I got 2. But, so they legitimately, I'd say for the Iowa State game are sold out.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They absolutely
However,
were.
Joel went up to the window and bought one.
Of the
My
Iowa
grandson-
State game?
At the Iowa State game, I said, go up that window and tell
I'll be
me."
darned.
Well, they would've had darn few left.
Now, sometimes people turn their tickets in, and I think Pam tries to help them.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happens there also? That's also a will call window where tickets have been allocated, but people don't show up.
Okay, yeah,
And some,
And so then they release those tickets
some
at a
call
certain
in and
point.
say
yeah,
that
okay,
Yeah.
that's
So
probably
they-
how.
Yeah,
they try to recycle those.
yeah.
Well, I do think the Michigan athletic director's in big trouble for a number of reasons. And now you've got Brady Hoke, who not only is his team losing, they lost 2 games at home in September for the first time in history.
Yeah,
Now you've got insult added to injury with their quarterback having a concussion and then being put back in the game. There's a lot of, make no mistake about it,
You
there's a
talked
lot of
to-
debate on that right
You
now.
talked to Bump, he was there.
Yeah, he was there. He
Was
was
that
there.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a
They're-
reunion.
They're Rose Bowl team of 1964, I think.
So that'd be 50.
Having
Okay.
its 60th anniversary.
Oh, 64.
I
That'd
think,
be 50 years.
That's 50, yeah.
But
I'm
that-
sorry,
Now,
50.
how long has that athletic director been there? at
Not
Michigan?
long.
No,
Not
two
very
or,
long, huh?
2 or 3 years.
Yep, exactly.
Well, did he hire, who was the previous coach that they,
Rich Rod.
Rodriguez? Did he hire him also?
That's
I
a
think
good
so.
question, Bob.
If he hired him and,
Bill Martin hired
oh,
Rodriguez.
okay. So
See,
this was his
Pat,
first football.
This is
hire
why we
for
want you
him.
here. You have a mind for
Bill Martin was
facts.
and both Bill Martin and Brandon are businessmen. Their career was not in athletic administration. Brandon was the Domino's pizza guy.
That's right.
Oh, that's right,
That's right.
that's right.
But you know, on national news, it's on every station about the coach letting that player go back.
Yes, it is.
It is.
So this is where he's gonna be in deep trouble.
Well, I'll tell you what, we had the TV on in our family when I wasn't paying much attention because they were getting manhandled pretty good. But boy, oh boy, when that quarterback got hurt, those commentators, they went right after the coaching
Yeah,
staff.
I know it.
Yeah, and
You know-
rightfully so. I mean, but they were very, very negative.
There was confusion over whether it was a head injury or an ankle injury, or both. And
Yes,
Well,
the-
when he got up and staggered, that's a
But,
head
but he had a
injury.
bad ankle.
yeah.
And in the climate of the game, the head coach needs staff support for a decision
Right.
like that. Trainers and doctors need to say, intervene.
Right, I agree
And
with you.
should have authority to say, no, you can't go back in.
But you know, Brady Hoke seems like a straight-up kind of guy.
Yeah, he does.
The kind of guy you want coaching your kids at
Yep,
phys ed.
yep.
Maybe that's where he belongs. But, you know, at field level, there's a lot of things you can't see.
Right.
And he, you know, maybe he was, maybe he legitimately didn't
I think he was calling the
see
next
him
play.
get up.
Well, in most big-time programs, the head coach isn't actually making the game-by-game substitution decisions. The
No.
position coaches are.
True.
and as far as injuries, it's the team doctor.
Or
and-
trainers.
Or trainer, and,
But I
But you
guess-
have the
I was
eyes in
asking-
the sky, so somebody should have been passing that down.
Yeah.
If
I
they
asked
couldn't see it at field
Bob,
level.
when, I said, is the Michigan coach a nice guy? And he said, he's a great guy. He
Yeah.
said Bobby coached with him at Ball State.
yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. You know, this is a harsh judgment, but I've watched Brady Hoke's teams at Ball State, and he was Chuck Long's successor at San Diego State. When Michigan hired him, he was the so-called Michigan man.
Mhm.
I couldn't see that hire as
I couldn't either.
Michigan quality. I don't think he's that great a coach.
No,
I
Well,
would agree.
there was a lot of ineptitude in that game Saturday. I just was stunned at how bad Michigan looked in every facet of the game.
Well, and we were talking about Purdue's attendance. Michigan had 6, 7, 8,000 empty seats.
Yep.
he did.
And before this year, that never happened.
Yeah,
Well, I had a son that did his undergrad work at Michigan, and he follows Michigan football pretty good, and he's been telling me the last couple of years how great their recruiting classes have been. They have had 2 or 3 years of excellent recruiting under Brady Hoke, but it hasn't materialized on the field. And, you know, like, they've had top 7, top 8 recruiting classes, not in the Big Ten, in the country.
Right.
So what's happening? I mean,
This is where they're gonna
the
need
talent,
a,
there's gotta be some talent
they
there.
need a change.
Well, now,
It's been going on too long.
well,
Now,
this is
wait a
only
minute,
his
Iowa-
third year there.
Well, we beat them 3 years in a row.
Yeah. And
I
then,
mean-
well, Rich Rodriguez,
This is his
Yeah.
fourth
he
season.
really,
This is his fourth season.
Yeah.
Who was before?
oh, this is number 4?
Yes,
Lloyd Carr.
Yeah.
I thought he was a good coach.
Oh, he
Yeah, I did
was.
too.
that's right. But you
But
know what,
he was
Murph,
get-
they couldn't wait to get rid of
He
Lloyd
was getting
Carr.
pressured out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
it's-
win all,
They want
everything.
to win every game.
Yeah.
And now you know what the rumor is
what?
about
Jim
yeah,
Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh. He's in his last year under his contract with the 49ers. And there's a lot of discontent out there. A lot of rumors, a lot of rumblings about,
I can't believe that.
yeah,
I
he's
can't-
lost
I
the
actually
locker
heard
room.
an NFL commentator say, do you think Harbaugh is playing for his job? Well, he's had tremendous success with
He
the
sure
49ers.
has.
He's won a Super Bowl.
Everywhere he's been.
just a couple years ago.
I can't believe they're after it.
I
And
tell you what,
there's also rumors that Les Miles still would go to Michigan if they'd offer him the job.
Boy, I don't know about that.
What's Miles?
Les Miles at LSU.
He's he's from Michigan, he played at Michigan.
Didn't he turn down the Michigan
Well,
job?
there's, some think he did, others claim they didn't offer it to him.
I don't think he was offered, but he coached with Lloyd Carr.
Yeah,
Right.
He was his defensive coordinator, wasn't he?
I'm not
And then he went with Saban,
So why would
LSU.
why would he leave LSU, the SEC conference, and go to the Big Ten?
Because
Well,
I,
that's it.
Have we solved the,
Less pressure, or
the,
No.
Michigan,
I don't know that we've solved anything, Earl. We've hashed it out.
But your alma mater, you
yeah, but and
people are
then,
driven to go
Ken,
home.
let's face it, it's one of the top 5 teams in the United States.
probably the top 4.
Top-
Yeah,
One of the top schools in the country.
Michigan is
Right.
the all-time winningest college program. Notre Dame is number 2.
that's,
Yeah.
okay,
For
that's what I
victories.
thought.
But, you
And they
know,
passed
yeah,
him.
he could go back there. You know what? That might not be all bad for the Big Ten, because maybe he would be able to recruit some SEC talent and speed up into the Big Ten country, and that would put the pressure on the Big Ten to do maybe a better, we've been beat up pretty bad in the press.
Yep.
It
And,
looked pretty good Saturday though, when
Well,
Northwestern took it to Penn State.
that
The
stunned me.
thing that I don't
Yeah, but they're
understand
both
about
Big Ten schools.
an NFL coach is why you'd want to go back to
Yeah.
recruiting, which is the bane of
You're right.
college coaches. And
And most people that pay attention don't think Harbaugh will do that.
No.
I
They
don't
think there'll be
either.
a number of NFL teams that would snap him up in a heartbeat if the 49ers chose not to renew his
I
contract.
can't believe
Think
the
you're right.
49ers are ready to get rid of him.
Well, they haven't re-upped his contract. This is it, his last year. Usually, they're gonna, if they're happy with someone, they're gonna add on.
usually by now, they've
Maybe Mark Cook will get it.
Yeah.
Hey, there are enough rumors about Marv Cook.
Mark Cook
Regina the
knows,
49ers.
he knows football as well as any of them.
See, he does.
He could do it.
Yeah,
And we heard
I
Marv
think
on
so.
Monday tell us that he loves coaching at Regina. So,
Well,
For now.
his last year.
Well, maybe that,
watch it now. Watch it. We're on camera here.
I know.
The mics are hot.
I know.
how hot are they?
Hot.
Oh, yeah.
Joe agrees.
There's at least 5 or 6 people watching.
We should probably,
I could promise you there are more than that.
we should probably get back to talking about the Hawkeyes.
Oh, yeah.
This edition of Sports Talk has kind of trailed off into other areas. So, one thing I noticed, Bud.
Wait just a minute. Everybody's laughing at, I suggested him for the Michigan job.
Uh-huh.
It was just a suggestion, but then there was some cheap conversation after that. I don't know what they're laughing at.
We're laughing at Joe.
No, but what, is Marv Cook rumored to go someplace else?
There are rumors because his son's a senior.
Well, the big thing is daughter moved over there already. His
On the west
daughter's
side
at-
of the river?
His daughter's
No,
enrolled at
going to
West,
She
West
went from
High.
Regina to
Play
West as a
basketball.
freshman.
Yeah,
but from 8th to 9th grade, which she is a logical change
Right.
point.
She wanted to study dance,
Mm-hmm.
which they offer at West High, which they don't at Regina.
There are
So,
lots of kids that go to Regina through 8th grade and then switch to the public system, high
well,
school.
my daughter did it.
and she's a very, very, very good basketball player.
Oh,
That's the reason. I think.
His daughter is?
Oh, very
Yeah,
good.
she's,
She left a team, there's 6 girls on that team that could play for any team in Round Isle. I mean, they're all good. Dumont's daughter's good. There's just a bunch of them. Now, I watch because I got a granddaughter, and she don't ever get in because these girls are so good. They haven't lost a game through 7th, 8th, and, I mean, they're really good, and she's a very, very good ball player.
how tall is she?
But she
then?
left that team to go to West, is what you're saying?
Yes,
Yeah, because the other kids are at Regina.
tall.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard for me to judge
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you say about a girl.
there's things
But
happening.
I'd say
There's
five.
things happening.
Yes,
Yeah, mostly just rumors at this point. That's it.
Yeah.
Speculation.
That's right, yeah.
And if you all know, there's been a lot of turmoil out there with Randy leaving, and there's just been a lot
Boys
of,
and girls
And the
basketball
girls coach.
coaches.
and three,
And then the athletic director.
and then
who
three
let 'em both
athletic
go.
directors going and leaving and shouldn't ever come in the first place.
Been a lot of turnover with athletic directors.
That's right.
out there.
That's-
Yeah.
That's not a good deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of people not pleased with, the,
School.
Leadership.
leadership at the school, which has filtered down into the athletic department, and we're on our third athletic director in 3 years. What's that tell you? So, there's some disgruntled people there, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
I'm one of
think,
them.
to me, it's the higher up.
Amen.
And I won't mention names, but it's the
Yeah.
higher up. He has to go.
So anyway, there's gonna be some changes, but we don't know what
Well,
they are.
anyway, the starting
So how
point,
about those Hawkeyes?
That's
Hey,
okay.
let's talk about the Wolverines a little more.
oh, no, seriously, the starting point of that discussion is Marv Cook is a terrific coach.
Yes, he is.
Capable of coaching at any number of higher levels if he
Oh.
ever decided he wanted to.
Well, a
That
lot
makes
of-
a lot, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I don't think Marv will leave unless he gets a coaching job.
He loves
Agreed,
he
yeah.
loves coaching.
And he's really good with kids.
Yeah. He'll-
The
he'll be a-
drawback to college coaching for somebody Marv's age is the time it takes on the road recruiting away from your.
And I don't
family.
see him ever doing that. Not now, not when he's got kids at home.
I had a email exchange last night and this morning with Lisa Bluter. There's a new NCAA rule that allows in-home visitations during September.
I'll be
Yeah.
darned.
So she was traveling all over the country in September to visit young women who she's recruiting, and spent her 30th wedding anniversary driving in a car through Wyoming from
Wow.
point X to point Y. And, that's tough.
And
But
she's
you know
got little
what?
kids
She's
at
done a
home.
great job recruiting. Look at what she's
Oh.
brought in here lately, especially.
She's, yes.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a very exciting, entertaining year for Hawkeye women's
But
basketball.
as soon as the NCAA loosens up recruiting rules,
They'll never be home.
everybody does it, so you've got to do it to compete.
Yeah,
That's true. That's very true.
yeah.
Now, are they still strong on how many you can have?
How many what?
Well,
Coach,
3 or 4 years ago, we were talking about how we're on an even scale with, like Michigan. They can't hold so many back anymore.
You mean scholarships?
Right.
Well, they're supposed to be, but
well, there's
the
supposed
SEC is not.
What is that?
Well, it's 85, but
Okay,
For
85.
football.
for football.
Yeah.
Right. Well, probably basketball is the number 2.
13 for men's basketball.
Okay, 13. But they're all the same, right?
Well,
Supposed to be.
women have one more,
Supposed to be,
right?
right.
The thing that's, women have 14.
14, that's what I
Or
thought.
14 or 15 maybe even. The thing that's changing some is they're going to start requiring schools to offer 4 or 5 year scholarships, so that schools that have been offering 35 players in the fall and then cutting 15 or 20 loose to make that number won't be able to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
they will have
Which is what
contracted.
the SEC does.
Right.
Bingo,
A lot
Bob.
of schools down there do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Notre Dame.
And after a
Do
year,
they?
they can decide, well, this guy's never gonna make our 2 deep, so, goodbye.
Yeah,
Okay, that's the thing I was getting at.
yeah.
Well, why don't we get a pipeline to Alabama so the 15 they cut every year, we can talk to,
Come here.
you know?
But that's in a real state of flux because of the Big 5 conferences going to their own organization, and so the transition period is gonna be fairly slow while they
Yep.
organize, develop some hierarchy, and then establish their own rules.
That's right.
And it's gonna be kind of a free-for-all for probably a couple of years.
Okay, now I got a question for you, Pat. We're always talking about gender equity, right?
Right.
Title 19. Why don't you tell me why the women have 14 or 15 basketball scholarships and the men have 13?
Well,
What's the reasoning behind that?
gender equity to try to get to a balance of
Right.
men and women. It's a very small thing to balance it, but football makes it very difficult to balance because of the 85 scholarships.
There's no other sport like
That's
football.
why Iowa has rowing,
Mhm.
and like 40 young women on scholarship for rowing is to try to make up for
Well,
football.
then, why can't we have 40 basketball scholarships for women
Because
in
then
rowing?
it's not balanced.
Well, I mean, come on. They don't have a rowing program in the state of Iowa, and here we have a
Or
rowing.
we don't have a field hockey.
Boy, they got
program
big
Yeah,
in
ones
the state.
over in Pittsburgh. There must have been 30 schools there going
Yeah.
down the river.
Yeah.
I see those rowers every morning, going up and
They-
down the
Yeah,
Iowa.
they're out there, you're right.
And they
And-
work hard.
They do. And
Hard
speaking of rowing,
Now,
I
who do they
was,
play?
anyone that's got a team,
Well, the Big Ten has, I think, 7 schools
Right.
with rowing now.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. I met a rower, a University of Iowa rower, a couple of weeks ago when I was working the Friday night concert series. She interviewed me for her job with the university TV station. And I got to talk to her. Her name was Hannah Hawks. Not hard to remember that
No.
name. And I said, I see you gals pretty much every day going up and down the river. She said, yeah, it's really hard work. She showed me her hands, and they're just covered in blisters and
Wow.
calluses. I said, geez, I said, I've canoed for years, and we would always wear gloves, water-resistant gloves. We're not allowed to.
Illegal.
Oh, they're not?
Nope. Nope.
That's interesting.
And I
I
know
think
they
it's a
work them
strange-
hard.
strange
It's
rule.
early in the morning. I'm talking
Who makes
6
those
a.m.
rules?
I don't know.
NCAA,
Do they?
yeah.
Why wouldn't they let them wear gloves?
I don't know, I don't understand that. I mean, they let wide receivers wear gloves
Yeah,
with sticky sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See, I'm not a rower, but that was beautiful.
You're not.
No, that was beautiful in Pittsburgh, coming down the river.
It is quite the sight.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. But I see them early in the morning, and then when I'm bringing the kids back from football practice, for example, at 5:30, 6 o'clock, there they are again in the evening,
Yeah.
going up and down the river.
Well, I had a college roommate whose youngest daughter came here, and she graduated about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And she was a volleyball track star in Naperville, Illinois. And she was on the rowing team for 3 years. She said she'd never, ever been in better shape.
I bet.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
right, they just work them hard.
And there's scholarship money to be had. If you got a daughter that's athletically inclined,
Yes.
and we've heard
Yeah,
the rowing coach
We've heard
speak.
rowing coaches talk about just walking around campus
Yeah,
looking for
and
prospects.
She was asking us if we
I got one
knew
for you,
anybody.
Pat.
Get 'em up
I've heard
here.
2 or 3 times in the last 10 days. Are they gonna force the 2 or 3 schools that left that don't have hockey?
I don't think so.
I wish we had hockey.
That'd be hard to do, Bud,
We
because
can't add sports.
it's like the rowing, 7 out of 14 have a rowing team, so it'd be hard to force people. I mean, there.
Some
teams
don't
in the
have
Big Ten that
baseball, some don't have
baseball.
wrestling. And I guess we all have wrestling.
Well, they really cover hockey on the Big Ten network.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good hockey, the Big Ten
And
team
they've
schools that
mentioned
have it.
several times, who is it, Illinois and us, or Northwestern and us?
I don't-
There's not many that don't have hockey, so they added
It's,
some in the
I
last.
think the only ones that do are the northern tier ones, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Michigan State. Does Penn State have hockey?
Yes, Penn State has
Do they?
hockey.
I never
They're on
see
the other
them.
night.
Does
I bet, I
Rutgers and
suppose
Maryland?
Rutgers.
Yeah,
does.
Rutgers and Maryland's
They
done.
do?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
hockey's a pretty big,
There's no money to add a sport.
No.
And hockey would, besides the scholarships, takes a facility.
Yeah, where are you gonna play it?
that'd be a
The
little crowded
arenas-
at Coral Ridge Mall, wouldn't
Well,
it?
you could
Fieldhouse,
probably
maybe?
try the arena, but it would be hard to put ice in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
but Cedar Rapids, now, a couple of those schools don't play in their hometown,
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah,
in
true.
Cedar Rapids Arena.
Yeah. But no, we
No.
won't be adding sports.
No.
The hope is that we never have to cut sports.
Right.
But
it's not a time and a place to be adding.
if the football stadium is not selling out, it's probably not gonna be very long before they're having to look at reductions.
Yep.
Right.
But interestingly, at the same time that they're having these sort of financial pressures, you've heard about football adding a personnel department. So they've added new staff positions. And women's basketball, and I don't know about men's, has added a new position, a recruiting person.
Oh, is that the sister?
Well, she didn't stay very long.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She was in town for less than a month, and she left to be closer to a fiance, is my understanding. And there's a new person in that recruiting position who played basketball at Virginia. I don't remember her name.
This is the women's program?
Yes.
Mhm. But Gary Bart has approved the addition of probably a couple $100,000 of expenses, staffing.
Well, didn't we get
Oh, at
a
least.
couple new athletic directors too?
Yeah, we've
Yes.
got one
Yeah,
new one.
Got a new position. Now, the discussion there is people are gonna be retiring, and theoretically, and Mark Abbott's already retired.
Right.
Theoretically, somehow we'll make up for that over the next few years. I don't know if that's the case or not.
Well, time will tell.
The athletic scholarships aren't they selling quite well?
Well, I think they are. I think we've had good success in trying to endow scholarships.
Yeah.
Our athletic fundraising ranks 4th, 5th in the Big Ten.
And isn't it top 25 in the
I
nation?
think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many scholarships are funded in the women's program, Pat?
I think they're about all.
No, not all.
Endowed, I
And
should
then
say.
I think
Men.
football scholarships.
Oh, I don't think football's all endowed.
No,
No.
No way.
Oh, they got a ton.
It's a lot, but it's.
Yeah.
it
Yeah, they're
wouldn't
not
be
fully
all.
endowed.
Yeah,
I would say probably
Short
it's
of
getting
half.
close to half.
Yeah, it's
not
just short of
quite
half. Although the men's basketball is, aren't they?
I don't know if all of them, but,
No?
that'd be an
Good
interesting
percentage.
thing too, though.
but they're also different levels of endowment.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I am able to distinguish who's at what level and what the endowment levels are.
Well, let's,
That was one of this is really off the track, but that was one of the reasons when Bob Bowlesby left. I asked him one day, I said, just, why are you going to Stanford? I mean, you're an Iowa guy. He said, one of the main reasons is fundraising. He said, my job, I'm not directing the athletic department anymore, I'm raising funds. I estimate that 90% of my time is spent away from Iowa City, shaking hands and hoping people will take kindly to us and give us money. At Stanford, their endowment frees me up from having to do that. The endowment would run the athletic program into perpetuity without raising additional money. Was one of the reasons. I mean, Stanford's a top-notch school,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense.
and now he's the head of the Big 12.
Yeah.
We knew him when.
Yeah.
He's
So,
gotta be close to retirement. How old is Bob Bowlesby?
I'm gonna say 62.
You know that?
I would say he's in his early 60s, but
He's a couple years older
one
than
of the
me.
things to watch for is this new Big Five
Super-
organization
yeah.
that's breaking away from the NCAA will need a president or a commissioner.
Yeah.
And I would assume Bob is
He'll be
somebody
in
who
there,
they'll
yeah.
look at.
Yep.
Does anyone know if he come to the Iowa State game?
Bob Bowlesby?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He did a
Hadn't heard
couple of
that.
years ago, but I
He
didn't hear
this
this time.
huh?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his plate. Back to the Hawkeye football program. So, the defense looked great against Pitt and Purdue.
Yep.
Not so much against Iowa State. And I guess the spotlight now is shining on the offense. We continue to have slow starts. The Hawkeyes have been behind every single one of their games. They're
No,
4-1,
This last one was 10-10 at halftime.
but they were behind 10-0.
Right.
Oh, before half.
Right. The
Okay.
Hawks have had to come from behind. They've had, let's see, I wrote this down. Iowa trailed in each of its 4 wins this year and erased 10-point deficits in 3 games, Ball State, Pitt, and Purdue. I see a trend developing here. Slow starts, and let's just be honest, if not brutally honest, that first quarter at Purdue was about as ugly as it gets. And I remember when that first quarter was over, I said, thank God that's over,
If
you know,
if you were
flush
not
it.
a fan of either Iowa or Purdue, you wouldn't have kept watching that game.
No, it was
You'd have
ugly.
watched about 10 minutes of it and said, well, there's got to be a more entertaining game than this.
And there were.
But then go to last year. We were ahead at all these places at halftime and got beat. So I'd rather have it the way we got it this year.
Yeah, but typically, Ferentz's teams are slow starters.
Yep,
Yeah,
and they learn as the season
Right.
progresses.
I think they'll get better.
Well,
They
the
would have
offense
to.
has to. The offensive line, I think, is improving. I think they're getting in sync with the running backs, but we still haven't had a 100-yard rusher in one game.
no, but we have 2 or 3 that are, you know, I don't understand.
Haven't even had a 90-yard rusher.
No, but at 85, it's close. And it,
We're getting there.
yeah, and let me tell you this, and people just forget, we should have had another touchdown, and Kirk made the guy fall down. He intercepted the pass and started running.
Well, he did,
Not a soul
Well, I don't
about
he
it.
think
did that on
Kirk-
his own.
I don't think Kirk made him
Yeah.
fall
No,
down.
I don't
Someone
think
from
that-
over there did.
No, I don't think so.
Did
I
you
think
see
he-
it?
I think he
Yeah.
did it himself because he remembered that they wanted Greg Maben to fall down after his interception, and he just got a brain cramp. I just think he made a mistake.
Maybe.
No,
Loudermilk?
Loudermilk made a mistake.
He said.
Because the
Loudermilk-
coaches wanted Maben down, Loudermilk's thought process was, well, I'm not gonna have him yelling at me, I'm going down.
He said,
See, I don't get that. It's football.
Yeah.
You intercept the ball, you take it to the end zone.
he said too much respect for Purdue coach Hazel.
Well, he
Yeah.
said,
I read that.
he said that after the fact.
And that's
I think
fine.
that was a
Well, they made a big
convenience.
deal in the Purdue paper.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of kudos, Loudermilk, for being a gentleman, if you
Yeah.
will. And whatever. You were at the game. Did he have a clear and open shot to the end zone?
As clear as can be.
Yeah, see,
Really?
Yeah,
I'm with
nobody
Bob.
around him.
I'm
Yeah,
with Bob.
sorry, guys.
Your
I don't
job
get it.
is to
Take it.
complete the play.
Yeah.
Take the touchdown, okay?
I thought when it happened,
They were over there
there must have
doing
been,
this.
I
Now,
thought there were defenders,
No,
and the
there wasn't
possibility of-
anyone close to him.
well, fumbling the ball or something. I thought,
No, there
Could
wasn't.
you see people going like this?
Yeah, over on the sideline, yeah.
on the
Now, I
coach.
can't say it was Kurt.
but he was across the field from the Iowa bench.
That's what
And he was
went
running
across
away
it.
from the bench.
That's right, but he was all alone. If he looked over there, there was no one in his way.
Interesting.
I mean, he was completely alone.
Didn't matter in the end.
I was cheering already for that touchdown.
Well, it didn't happen. Yeah, it should have been 31-10.
Yeah,
And of course, part of Loudermilk's thought process is he's still worried about the bowl game where he dropped going across the
Oh,
goal line
yeah,
and he
okay, right.
dropped the ball before he got.
He mentioned that in the post-game
Did he?
interviews. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I didn't recall it at first. I thought, what's he talking about? After what happened last year? What
that's
happened
what-
last year?
Yeah.
But you're right.
But the way you have, if you watch the second half, and you hold a team to 30 yards, you know you got something going out there.
Well, part of it was the offense controlling the time on the clock.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was so methodical.
We've had some pretty nice drives the last the last 2 games.
Yeah, last two.
we
games.
had some
Yeah.
pretty bad drives the first half. We dropped
Oh.
passes and things
Yeah,
like,
drop passes.
oh.
And they didn't look like bad passes,
No,
but I'm
they-
thinking,
Yeah.
okay, I know he throws a hard ball,
Well,
Beathard.
They catch a bad ball.
Yeah.
You know.
It hits you in the
a fast-
hands,
a
catch
fast
it.
ball.
They catch them all week. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what they're supposed to do.
I counted 9 drop passes the entire game. There
No
were
kidding.
there were
Wow.
6 that they're giving credit for dropping. I know there were at least 8, and depending on how you score it, I say 9.
There was one of them could have been a touchdown too.
Was that?
Oh,
Oh,
hit Hillier right in
Yeah.
the
That's
Hillier.
middle of the chest, right between the 1 and the 7, and there was nobody on him.
What
Nobody
quarter
knows.
was that when he dropped that?
I want to say second quarter, wasn't it?
That's a,
Yeah, it was, second quarter.
Yeah.
That first quarter, I watched the game alone. And I just sat there and shook my head the whole quarter. I swore a little bit. And I'll say it again, when it was over, I said, thank God the first quarter's over.
Well, didn't we only have 14 yards or something?
It was just terrible. Bethard looked really shook. Now, I don't know how much their travel to Purdue played into this. I don't know if you've heard,
Had
but
to play some part.
Yeah.
it had to.
Yeah.
They were supposed to fly in like they normally would to Purdue, and the fire at O'Hare Airport messed up everything. Their plane was out east in New York area, I think, and was supposed to fly this way to pick them up, but they couldn't do it because
I think it was in O'Hare.
it wasn't. It was out east. On the Kirk show or somewhere, they were talking about it. But to get here, they had to go through O'Hare. I don't know
They
why.
would have to go through here, but they have to go through the area controlled by
There
the
you go.
Air Traffic Control Center near O'Hare.
Which is why Bob couldn't fly to Maine, which is why the Hawkeyes couldn't fly to Purdue. So they had to get on a bus at the last minute.
5 buses.
5 buses.
Well, that must have been a mess Friday morning trying to get that arranged.
We
Well,
heard,
they didn't know till
I know it, I mean, my
late
goodness.
Friday morning or early Friday afternoon.
isn't that
When
something?
when they went to meet, they still thought they were going.
I mean, this thing happened Friday morning about
Yeah.
8 o'clock,
Right.
7 or 8 o'clock. So the word started to come out that the system was shut down later that morning. And poor Paul Frederici must have just panicked when he
Oh,
said, what do you mean there's no plane?
yeah,
And you gotta call a bus company whose
Right.
bus drivers are home having coffee and the
Yeah.
buses are parked in the barn and
I only need
not
5 buses.
not gassed up.
And drivers.
Northwestern had to go through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
What a day, I didn't hear
They
it.
had to bust up Penn State.
yeah.
They
Same,
couldn't get out.
And then they beat them.
Oh, yeah.
They just put a
These are
whopping on them.
The bus didn't bother them.
29-6.
But by the time we got to West Lafayette, it was 9 o'clock at night. And normally, the Friday before is programmed. I mean, you
Right.
walk
Yeah.
through the stadium. you
Mid-afternoon.
Have a
No more,
meeting,
no more.
have position
No more
meetings.
walking through the stadium.
Huh?
Oh, really?
How do you, are you sure?
Yes,
Who told you?
Vandenbergs, they
Really?
don't walk through the
Well, they
stadium.
didn't have time to do it at Purdue.
No, but they go to these meetings and have all that stuff.
Oh, they gotta do a walkthrough.
No.
Game day is the first time these kids walk in that stadium?
No, yep.
I'll be darned.
Well, I'm sure they look at it and stuff like that, but they have nothing down on
I'll
the
be
field.
darned.
You mean Friday, they don't have
That doesn't sound right.
Walk through the stadium, no.
Huh.
They just quit, and they all have to do it.
So do we have a quarterback controversy?
No.
You know, if you listen to Greg Davis's press conference yesterday,
Did you guys listen?
I would conclude, I don't have the foggiest idea what they're gonna do with the quarterback. And maybe they don't either. Maybe they're gonna,
I think
See
you're-
how- see
I
how
think you're right
Rudock
there, Pat.
heals.
I don't think,
and.
He said they're gonna play both quarterbacks
He
at
did say
Indiana.
that.
Well, he said that at the start of the year, and then they didn't do it.
Yeah, true.
Or Kirk said that at the start of the year.
Kirk's
Greg-
also said that an injury shouldn't put Rudock
Yes,
back.
yes, he did.
And that, I think the good news is, I think we have 2 fine quarterbacks can get the job done, and with the injury situation, that's a good thing. And personally, I think if Rudock's healthy, I think he'll start the Indiana game.
I do too.
I do too.
Yeah.
They said
That's
he's
fine.
80% healthy, is what Kirk said
Yeah,
well, I
yesterday.
think he's more than that because they list the 3 guys that won't be in Indiana.
Say that again?
The 3 players that got hurt
Uh-huh.
will not play the Indiana game.
I don't know how they can say that so far ahead.
Did you see it in the paper?
did.
Eddie? Yeah.
Bullock,
3 players. that-
Vandenberg, and who's
Vandenberg,
And running back,
Bullock?
Bullock.
Okay.
and,
There's one other guy there that I didn't recognize the name.
Okay.
was it Pleva?
Oh, that's who it is,
Yes,
fullback.
that's who it was.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But they said
But
they
that's
will
a
not
week and a
play
half away.
Indiana.
They must be
That's
pretty
right.
hurt.
I don't know how they can say that.
Well, and they don't disclose what the injuries are anymore.
No, I don't-
No,
That's
Kirk-
okay.
Kirk doesn't, he doesn't say it. He says as little as he possibly can
Yeah.
about injuries. He doesn't even mention it unless he's asked.
Yeah.
I think that's probably smart. You
Doesn't
don't want to
let the-
let your opponent know exactly what's going on with your
Yeah.
team,
That's right.
you know?
Well, I wouldn't call it a controversy, but it's certainly an interesting situation.
I
Now-
just think it's a good situation.
Yeah.
We
We're
have to
all-
afford- I'm like Bob.
You know, in some respects it is, but not having certainty with your quarterbacks and a rotation is probably not good. I mean, most successful teams have a quarterback, a leader. There are not many that have alternatives at quarterback.
Well, I think what I was getting at, if one of them get hurt, we know we have
Yeah, no, that's
somebody
right.
to come in.
I was sure hoping that Beathard didn't get hurt at Purdue. He was taking some big risks with his runs, and he took some big shots.
Yeah.
And who did we have to go in but a freshman who they want a red shirt?
You don't wanna burn that red shirt. You know, we've burned some red shirts in the past, not necessarily with quarterbacks, but, with tailbacks.
Yep.
And we should have done it.
Yep.
And you pay for it down the line.
Tim Dwight,
Sean Daniels,
Sean Daniels,
Sean Daniel, yeah,
Nate Meyer.
yeah.
maybe
They-
even Brandon
they-
Wigger.
They burned his red shirt year by playing him one game on the kickoff team. That was it.
Jeez.
I'll be darned.
I'm glad our defensive coordinator Parker had made it pretty obvious in the paper that we're not gonna burn a red shirt on this 6'8" Nelson kid out of Cedar Rapids. You know, he's gonna not play this year. That's good.
Well, did you guys read Rick Brown from the Des Moines Register's article yesterday?
Yeah.
No,
He said that our offensive coordinator, Greg Davis, should be worried about his job.
I think he's right.
And I hadn't looked at it the way he had presented it, but I think he's right too, Pat.
I said after the Iowa State game, something has to change with our offense. And I think the most logical change is Greg Davis. I just don't think he's getting the job done.
Nope.
well, I wouldn't argue with that, but after that Iowa State game, guys, we did start to go a little more vertical.
We did.
Okay, we started to go downfield a little.
I think it's great that we're 4-1.
I
I
do
think
too.
it's terrific.
We're
I do
lucky
too.
to be 4-1.
But we've not played well on offense.
Yeah,
And Kurt had Davis on his show yesterday. Kurt was out of town, so
yeah.
Well, you had both Parker and both coordinators.
I didn't see Parker.
Well,
I
he was
just seen
there.
Davis,
They both
okay.
did
Yeah.
the press conference. And the reason that you saw Davis and not Parker is that's what all the reporters want to hear, is
Right.
Oh,
what
okay.
Davis is gonna say about
Okay.
the quarterback.
And Greg Davis seemed a little defensive.
That's because he was getting grilled.
He was. We rank 13th out of 14 Big Ten teams in most offensive categories. And that's not just Big Ten games, that's
Yeah,
all games.
Here's a statistic that I think is a commentary on Greg Davis's tenure. Cavante Martin Manley caught 5 passes at Purdue, which took him past Ronnie Harmon and Dana Hughes to 5th place on the all-time Iowa list for pass receptions. But he's still 12th in pass receiving yardage. That's because he catches all these short down and outs.
Yeah.
He's got great hands, and he's an excellent receiver. But they keep throwing him all these dinky little 3,
dinks.
4, 5 yard passes. He catches a lot, but they don't go anyplace.
That's horizontal. Vertical's up and down the field. Horizontal, which Greg Davis likes to do, is side to side. It ain't working.
but I would not say in the last several years, we've had a very good receiving core. We have the best receiving core now that we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And what Pat's saying though, I mean, you know, we need to be taking more advantage of the speed that we do have. And we've got some kids with good hands, yeah, they dropped several last week.
Oh, they dropped a
Maybe
bunch.
next week they'll catch them all, I don't know.
But that side pass really worked for Northwestern.
Different offense.
But I say it worked for him
Once, finally.
2 or 3 times.
Well, I mean,
Northwestern,
they
One
finally
time
beat
for a whole
somebody.
touchdown.
that offense.
2 it just,
We're short on time. I want to mention that senior running back Mark Weissman, who I simply love watching run the ball, he joined some elite company. He is now one of 7 players in school history to surpass 2,000 yards rushing, along with 20 career rushing touchdowns. The other 6 include Cedric Shaw, Liddell Betts, Albert Young, Tavian Banks, Owen Gill, and Ronnie Harmon.
Wow.
And now here's what's really, I think,
He's only
impressive.
played 2 years.
Well, this is, right, this is his
Barely more
third
than
year
2
at
years.
Iowa.
It's his third year, but he was not a running back until like the third game
Right.
of his sophomore year.
Right, well, he also,
And injured.
he was his freshman year was at what, Navy?
No,
Air Force.
Air Force.
Air Force.
First semester.
He is the only player on the list to reach the milestone of 2,000 rushing yards, 220 rushing TDs. He's the only one to do it in 3 seasons. Let me just give you, for
He's been
instance,
terrific.
Oh, yeah.
he really has. He is just, that Purdue game, I thought, just typified his career at Iowa. They thought they'd have him stopped in a short game,
Right.
and he just moved that whole pile.
He does.
He's so strong.
Don't you love that when you know he's in the middle of that
Yes.
pile?
You can't
the
see
pile
him.
move.
You
You
can't see him.
and the pile's moving.
That was my favorite part of the Purdue game. I'm serious. I like to sit there and just say, Weissman, he is just, you know he's sure-handed.
And he's always so modest.
He's a great guy.
I sure hope we can keep him healthy for the rest of the season.
Let me
That's
give you a
really
comparison.
Key to our success.
Mark Weissman has 2,050 rushing yards now. He's done that in 27 games. Ronnie Harmon, the next in line, has 2,271 rushing yards. So a little more than 200 yards. He did that in 40 games.
But,
Wow.
but Ronnie was primarily a receiver
Yeah.
his first 2 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
true. Not a
Uh,
lot of balls.
Owen Gill, 2,556 yards, accomplished that. Oh, he also has 22 touchdowns. Owen Gill did that in 41 games.
Wow.
Tavian Banks, 2,977 yards, 33 rushing touchdowns. He accomplished that in 42 games. That's 15 more games than Mark Weissman. Now, he's got almost a third more rushing yards, but, and a third more TDs. So Mark Weissman is right there with all of the Hawkeye great running backs like Albert Young. I mean, it's
Well,
pretty
he could catch
impressive.
some of those, but he ain't gonna catch his Banks.
Yeah.
He'll catch Ronnie.
Yeah, I think he'll catch Ronnie Harmon. I think he'll catch Owen Gill.
Yeah,
We'll
good.
see about Tavian, but he'd have to really turn
No,
up the heat.
He's got a
No,
chance.
I can
enough
never
time.
remember his name, but.
The way the offense is going, he'll never catch Tavian. If it suddenly catches fire and he's carrying the ball 30 times a
That's
game,
right.
he
Who was the
might.
guy that had a great game against Michigan State? He's one of the all-time leaders,
Albert Young,
you know?
Liddell, Cedric, that's it.
Okay.
I don't have any other names on here.
Against whom, Murph?
Michigan State.
Oh, he had 256.
When we went to the Rose Bowl,
Oh,
Yeah.
Green.
Phil Blacher.
You talk about,
That's
Phil
Phil
Blacher.
Phil Blacher, there's a name I haven't thought
He
about.
he was not a great career rusher, but that was a great game.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
He was a tough guy.
Yes, he was.
You know, he works undercover for the government.
Oh, he does?
Is that right?
Blacher?
Well, let's not tell
He carries a
anybody.
gun all the time.
Don't tell anybody.
That's a
Put him in
hard
charge of the Secret Service.
yeah, I hope he's not. in
Somebody's gotta
Washington,
be.
DC.
He was in our house and he
Jeez.
pulled out the gun.
Really? We should mention high school before we run out of time. City High. Who would have ever thought City High would be 0-5? They got shellacked at Ottumwa last
I
week,
can't
34 to
When was the
nothing.
last
couldn't
time
do
that
that
happened,
either.
do you think?
Never.
I really thought
50
they
years
were
ago,
just
maybe?
able-
Yeah.
Now, they're going to host Cedar Rapids Prairie Thursday night, tomorrow night for homecoming. West High is 3-2 and had to come from behind to beat Davenport Central. They will host Bettendorf this Friday. Regina simply smoked Highland, had the perfect quarter to start the game, and they will host Columbus on Friday. We are out of time. I'm Dirk Keller thanking you, along with Bob Boyd and Pat White, Bud Supple and Earl Murphy for watching Sports Opinion every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Channel 18. Thanks to Joe Murphy. If you didn't get to see the show on TV, you can go to PATV.tv or you can go to my Facebook page. Tune in next week and remember this, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks. It's a bye week.
Yeah.
Listen,